Today we will talk about measurement of variables. I think in lecture 3 we have talked about types of variables: dependent variables, independent variables, mediating variables. You remember? What are the types of variables? Dependent, independent, moderate, mediate. Four types. Moderating variables and mediating variables. Four types of variables. So, I think at the same lecture, one of you asked me how to measure the value of the variables. And I told you in the next or the coming lectures, we are going to talk about how to measure these variables. Okay? So in this section, we will go through some definitions, operational definitions. Okay, what do we mean by measurement? Measurement is the assignment of numbers or other symbols to characteristics. See, we have values and we have characteristics or attributes of objects according to a pre-specified set of rules. So we have objects. You can go through any definition by analyzing its components. So in this definition, we have characteristics, or attributes of objects. So basically, we have objects. These objects has or have some characteristics or attributes. Okay? These characteristics or attributes may have values of numbers or any other symbols. So the measurement is assignment of numbers or other symbols. When we say other symbols, means maybe the value can be any alphabet value. For example, X equal to A, B, C, D. Or numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? Or sometimes special characters. So it is the assignment of numbers or symbols to characteristics or attributes of objects. Okay? So at any situation inside or when we are doing our research, we need to specify first what are the objectives and what are the characteristics of these objectives, and then we can assign numbers or symbols to such characteristics. Okay? According to a pre-specified set of rules. Of course, we have some rules. These rules control this assignment of numbers or symbols to the characteristics of objects. Okay, this is just an abstract definition. After that, we can see some examples. Okay, this is just an abstract definition. Okay, we have objects. These objects has some characteristics or attributes. We assign numbers to these characteristics or symbols to describe the objects. So what are these characteristics? What do we mean by the characteristics of objects? Objects include what kind of objects? Here we have some examples for the objects. Objects may be persons, means people, strategic business units. If you have a business, you have a company, so the units of the company, for example, this is human resource, this is financial, this is sales, this is okay. So these strategic business units, also every unit can be considered as an object. Companies, the company itself is an object. Countries, kitchen appliances, even kitchen appliances, the things that you use in the kitchen, also called objects. Restaurants, shampoo, yogurt, and so on. So all these things are just an example, or some examples of objects. So, what are the characteristics of objects? For example, examples of characteristics of objects are arousal-seeking tendency or achievement, motivation. It depends on the object itself. Here are just some examples. For example, achievement, motivation. If you have some employees in your company and they are working very well, then you want to motivate them. You give them achievement motivation. Maybe you give them one month salary or half month salary, or maybe you give him special prize, you give him a certificate at the end of the month. So this achievement motivation is a characteristic. Organizational effectiveness, shopping, enjoyment, length, weight. Length, weight can be characteristics of people or of persons. How long and the weight. Ethnic diversity, those people from different ethnics. Service quality, how's the service in this company, the quality of the service.
For restaurant.
Yes, it can be for the restaurant, it can be also for the companies. Conditioning effects and taste, this can be for the shampoo. How it is in conditioning, okay? And taste for the yogurt. So this is just examples of characteristics of objects. Just to clarify, what do we mean by object and characteristics? Now, if you see to these characteristics, you can understand how we give numbers or symbols to these characteristics. For example, the length of the person is, for example, 170. So he gives you a sign number to the characteristic. This is what we mean by measurement variable. If you go back to the definition, measurement is the assignment of numbers or other symbols to characteristics or attributes of objects. So, if we have length and weight as characteristics of persons, so you can say that the length of the person is 170. The weight, for example, is 70 kg. So this is how we measure the variable. Okay? So the variable, you can say here the variable is a characteristic. Okay? Any question? Just concepts. Okay. Here we discuss about the types of variables. Two types of variables. We discuss about types of variables in terms of measurements. It's not like the types, the four types that we studied in second, yes, in third lecture. Here we are talking about types of variables in terms of measurements, because our lecture is about measurement. How to measure. So, we have two types of variables. One links itself to objective and precise measurement. So we have objective. You remember last lecture when we said we have two types of research, objective and questions. objective question and subjective question. Here also we have two types of variables. The first one is the one links itself to objective and precise measurement. You give it a very precise measurement. Okay? It is not in between. It is not more than. It is not less than. Okay? You just give it a precise value.
Exactly.
Give it a value. Okay? For example, this variable v1 equal to
10.
17, for example. So you give it precise and objective value. This is the first type. The other is more nebulous and does not link itself to accurate measurement because of its abstract and subjective nature. Subjective means you cannot say exactly what, or cannot describe it exactly. You can say it is more than or less than. Okay, for example, the weather, the temperature. The temperature, you cannot say exactly. It is, for example, 32. You can say at an average time, for example, in the afternoon, the temperature is greater than 30 or more than 30. So it is subjective. Maybe at 1 o'clock is 33, at 2 o'clock is 32. So in the afternoon you cannot exactly say it is like that. So it is subjective. It is abstract. So how to deal with this kind of variables? The first kind of variables is easy to be coding. When we change our data, when we collect data and then we change our data to analysis, we want to analyze it, so we need to transform the data into numbers because all statistical utilities or statistical applications deal with numbers. Okay? So we need to transform our data that we have collected into numbers. For this kind of variables, it's easy, it's okay, because it has precise measurement. So it is easy to be coded into numbers. But for this kind, which is abstract, it is abstract, it is subjective. So how can you transform it into numbers in order to analyze the data? Okay? You get my point now? Okay. This is what we call operationalizing concepts. First, we will deal with this concept in a way in order to transform it into something that we can measure. Because in this case, it's not measurable. We cannot give a precise measure. Because it is subjective. You cannot say it is exactly this. So we need to make a kind of operationalizing concepts. Operationalizing concepts means reduction of abstract concepts to render them measurable in a tangible way. To make it measurable, we need to transfer it into a form that we can measure. Okay? So it is a reduction of abstract concepts. We make a kind of reducing the abstractness of the variable. Okay? To make them measurable. So we can measure them, we can give them some coding in a tangible way. Tangible way means in affordable way, in sometimes we say intangible, tangible related more to time, terms of time. You can do it quickly. It is not a sophisticated operation. Okay? Should be an operation that you can do it easily. Okay, operationalizing is done by looking at the behavioral dimensions, facets, or properties denoted by the concept. So we study that concept. Here we are talking about this type of variables, which is abstract and subjective. We say we need to reduce the abstract concept, okay, to be measurable. So how to do this? Parameterizing is done by looking at the behavioral dimensions. So we need to understand what are the dimensions of the behavior of that concept or the facets. Facets means the different faces. If we have a concept that we can look for that concept from one face, we can look for it from different face, the other face, from that face. Okay? So we need to understand or to look at it or to look at its behavior from different dimensions or from different facets, or properties from different properties denoted by the concept. So all of these are just definitions, because this is just the first part of measurement of variables, which is just operational definitions. It's just the definitions. So have you understand all these definitions? Any question? This figure is just the figure that we saw, yes, in the previous lectures. It is about research design. So this chapter or this lecture today is about measurement and measures. We are here. We have talked about research strategies, if you remember. Type of data collection, experiment, survey, observation, case studies, ground theory, okay? All of these we have talked about. We have talked about time horizon, we have talked about sampling, we will talk about it in the next coming lecture. How to choose your sample of study. For example, if your respondents are people in this university, so how are you going to choose a sample of those people? Of course, you cannot study randomly, or you cannot just collect from all of them, so you need to just select a sample that would be representative for the whole society of the university. Okay? Any question? This is interesting. Scaling, reliability, and validity, but it requires some knowledge of statistics. You need to have a good background in statistics. You have studied statistics. Batch 3, but batch 4, not yet. Sleepy. Yesterday in the morning, you were very active and you asked a lot of questions. Now you just